Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I came across this Real Clear Investigations article, Who Were the Mueller Report's Hired Guns? Very interesting because this was put out May 9th, which happens to be today when I'm recording this. And check this out. Special Counsel Robert Mueller spent more than $732,000 on outside contractors, including private investigators and researchers, records show. But his office refuses to say who they were. While it's not unusual for special government offices to outsource for services such as computer support, Mueller also hired contractors to compile, quote, investigative reports and other, quote, information. So there's a lot going on, but here's the kicker. The arrangement has led congressional investigators, government watchdog groups, and others to speculate that the private investigators and researchers who worked for the special counsel's office might have included Christopher Steele and Fusion GPS, the private research firm that hired Steele to produce the Russian collusion dossier for the Clinton campaign. Because remember, they had this going on that Christopher Steele was putting together all these reports about Trump and his people, and it was never proven. Nothing in there, I think, has been proven at all. But Mueller put it in the report and almost made it sound like it had not been debunked. They suspect the dossier creators may have been involved in Mueller's operation and even had a hand in his final report, because the special counsel sent his team to London to meet with Steele within a few months of taking over the Russian collusion investigation in 2017. Also, Mueller's lead prosecutor, Andrew Weissman, had shared information he received from Fusion with the media. And so it goes on, raising additional suspicions. Mueller's report recycles the general allegations leveled in the dossier. And taking a page from earlier surveillance warrant applications in the Russian investigation, it cites as supporting evidence several articles, including one by Yahoo News, that use Steele and Fusion as sources. If you remember, this was kind of like the wrap-up smear procedure that they did. They fabricated the story, they leaked it to the news media, and the news media wrote an article about it. Then they turned around and pointed at the news article and said, see, it's true because it's in the media. And their source says it's true. Well, the source was the person that leaked it, which was Steele. So, it was just a circular type thing. And that's what they based the whole FISA warrant on, the idea that this was true, but the only corroboration for it was the media that they themselves had leaked this to. So it was bogus, the whole thing. Well, anyway, and it even kept alive one of the dossier's most obscene accusations, the compromising tapes with the hookers. A lot of the things that the Mueller report says end up sounding like, as Devin Nunes says here, the Mueller dossier, because it's a lot of the same things that are in the regular dossier, the Steele dossier. And, some of them, as you see here, it says he also asserted that it selectively quotes from Trump campaign emails and omits exculpatory information in ways that cast the campaign's activities in the most sinister light. And really, that was what the whole thing did, the Mueller report, because it has a lot of negativity in it that should not have been there. It was not a matter of telling the facts. It was a matter of slanting the facts. And that's something that the left is very good at doing, that they put their slant on it, their twist, to make it look more favorable for them, which meant it had to look bad for Trump. And so that's what they did. Now, I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but there's a couple places I want to point out. Because, it was the whole Carter Page thing, and they were talking about how Carter Page was, where does it say, cavorting? Here. Knowingly cavorted with Russian spies, which echoes charges Steele made in his dossier. But federal court records make it clear that Page did not know those men were Russian agents. And of course, you have here that Page was a cooperating witness in the case in question, helping the FBI eventually put a Russian agent behind bars. But Mueller didn't include that. And so there was a lot of stuff that Mueller did not include. And if you read the Carter Page warrant, it did actually say that the Russians privately referred to Page as an idiot. I believe it said that, who was unworthy of recruitment. If it didn't say that exactly, I remember reading something that gave that indication that the Russians, there was an accusation in the Carter Page warrant that the Russians were trying to recruit Carter Page, but then it turned around and it said basically that the Russians thought he was an idiot and he wasn't going to be recruited. So it was like contradictory in there. I remember reading that one. So anyway, then it goes on and, it talks about Manafort and how the whole Manafort thing is suspect too, because Mueller's team worked closely with the dossier author Steele, a long retired British intelligence officer who worked for the Clinton campaign. Mueller's investigators went to London, as I read above, and Steele now runs a private research and consulting firm in London. It's not clear if Mueller's office paid Steele, but recently released FBI records show the Bureau previously made a number of payments to him, and at one point during the 2016 campaign, offered him $50,000 to continue his dossier research. Steele was also paid through the Clinton campaign, earning $168,000 for his work on the dossier. And so, you've got Manafort, and the whole Manafort connection was that it was on the advice of Christopher Steele, I believe, that they started to look into the Deutsche Bank thing, and that's how they got Manafort. So, it's just kind of crazy that they did that. Oh, and I like this part. Washington-based Judicial Watch suspects Mueller's office may have farmed out work to the private Washington research firm Fusion GPS or its subcontractor Steele, both of whom were paid by the Clinton camp during the 2016 presidential election. Several law enforcement and Hill sources who spoke with RCI also believe Steele and Fusion GPS were deputized in the investigation. Not just part of it, they were deputized. Oh, these are the people that caused all of this. They were at the heart of it because they're the ones that created the fake dossier. And then you turn around and you put them on your team as you're investigating it? This is insanity. Just insanity. But anyway, so Judicial Watch is on the case. They're trying to get, through FOIA requests, they're trying to get information on this and to find out if they can get a hold of documents that will show who these contractors were. And so that's what this article is about. And they started out with $867 to unnamed contractors for investigative reports information, along with $3,554 in miscellaneous payments to contractors. In the next reporting period ending March 31st, 2018, the office stopped breaking out investigative reports and information as a separate line item, lumping such contractual services under the category Other, which accounted for a total of $10,812, or more than 4% of the total spending on outside contracts. For the 6-month period ending September 30th, 2018, the latest reporting period for which there's data, Mueller's office showed a total of $310,732 in payments to outside contractors. For the first time, it did not break out such expenses into subcategories, though it noted that the lion's share of the $310,000 was spent on IT services. Mueller concluded his investigation and delivered his final report in March. The next expenditure report for the period October 2018 to March 2019 will cover contract work directly tied to compiling the report. So there should not really be any more outside contractors, expense in there. But anyway, that's what's going on with this. And, remember, they were putting in all kinds of bogus stuff, like the thing about Donald Trump Jr., and, they tried to make him look like he was guilty of collaborating with WikiLeaks. And, basically all he had was they sent him an unsolicited message through his Twitter account from WikiLeaks. And he thought it was weird at the time, and he described it in an email to someone else. And, it's very clear he did not know ahead of time. They tried to say he knew ahead of time about the DNC emails being released, and it's like, he had no idea. That's all that he had. And so, and again, they got Corsi in here they're talking about. And so all of this I'm going to put the link down below so you can read the whole thing on your own. I thought it was kind of interesting here. They talked about meeting Glenn at the 2017 Aspen Security Forum. Yeah, you look at the Aspen Security Forum, there's some interesting connections there. A lot of people, Clapper and Brennan, and just a lot of people were there. And so it's funny how, Glenn Simpson was there too, of course, for Fusion GPS. So just lots of connections, lots of things coming out. I don't know what the FOIA request is going to return, for the... Yeah, here's the part about the Deutsche Bank. And, they tried to get a hold of Simpson, but he didn't return calls or emails and doesn't want to say anything about that. And in case you didn't know, like Fusion GPS was actually founded by the journalist turned opposition researcher. That was Simpson they were talking about there. Fusion has rehired Steele to continue his anti-Trump work with millions of dollars in left-wing funding from the Democracy Integrity Project. Isn't that kind of like an oxymoron almost there? Well, it says democracy instead of Democrat, I guess. A Washington-based nonprofit started in 2017 by former FBI analyst Daniel Jones, who also worked for Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein. So... yep, the connections are just very interesting. But I thought you needed to know that's what Judicial Watch is looking into, trying to find out who the outside contractors were who worked for Mueller. And if it's Simpson and Fusion GPS, that's just crazy. It needs to just totally be exposed, because that's like putting the fox in charge of the hen house, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, that's what I've got for you on this. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.